Hello and welcome to a special Harv's Week review, sport review, State of the Union address, as the Americans would call it. Obviously, with no splinters, we're trying to do every 2 weeks for the podcast. But I thought I'd just come and update the viewers, give them something to listen to. Unfortunately, it's got my face on it and my face only. I thought I'd just come on and address the weekend of sport, really, of some of the key talking points. And just run through what's on my mind. Been active on Twitter, obviously, but I see no place to start other than the disgrace of Gordon Elliott. It's a dark day for the sport. I think the sport's done a great service to really clean up its act. I'm a horse lover. I'm an animal lover. Obviously there's a narrative that you can't be an animal lover if you like horse racing, but I just think that's a complete nonsense. I think that horse racing's been there for hundreds of years, and I've had interest in horses. Our family's had interest in horses. I've been to stables and yards, and if you speak to any horse person, they have the best interest of the horses at the core of it. And I think it's a sport. It's a sport that relies on animal welfare. I think that me personally, it's tough to see an image like that circulating. I'm not going to show the image on here because I don't think it's right. And then obviously today another sort of video surfaced, which it's just wrong. And it wouldn't be right for me to run a channel where it's based on horse racing, that I can't address these issues, especially with Cheltenham coming up, Aintree coming up. We've got a Cheltenham special, but for me, I think the BHA has done the right thing, banning him from bringing his horses over to the UK. I think that sets a precedent down. I think that's a real watershed moment from the sport. I think the Irish racing authorities are going to be under pressure now, and I think that's good. And Cheveley Park have come out and said they're moving their stable across to other trainers, Henry de Bromhead and Mullins, and I think a lot of the other owners will follow suit. I think that this sport relies on people treating the animals with the utmost care and attention, and 99.9% of them do. Obviously, there's an element of risk with jumps racing. I mean, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Horses can unfortunately lose their lives in the act of the sport, and that's an element of the sport, whether you like it or not. That unfortunately, that's just part and parcel of what it is about. It's very rare, but it's very sad. But be under no illusion that these horses are treat like celebrities, and rightly so, because they make the sport, in my opinion. Gordon Elliott coming out and sort of coming up with this cock and bull, how he was on his phone, it's just wrong. It's upset me as a fan. I think the reaction online says it all. I think the casual fans, all the way to trainers and owners, this is a real watershed moment. We thought things were going well. I think that you look at the fatality rate in the Grand National, it's gotten so much better. The fences are safer. I think horse welfare, I think the whip, everything about the sport is moving in the right direction. But a sickening incident like that has moved the sport back 10 years, in my opinion. And it's got to start again, really. Got to start from the ground up. I think the momentum will be there for the animal. The people that want to ban it. I think I have no problem with animal welfare people, because they do put pressure on the sport to make sure it's as beneficial as it can to the animals at the end of the day. But there comes a point where you want everything banned. These people don't understand that accidents happen. Majority of incidents happen off the track. And as sad as it is, it's a part of the sport, and I think that any commentator or anyone that's got an interest in horse racing, you can't sugarcoat that. But I think it's right to sort of start this show on a somber note, because I think it is it's obviously because I'm rambling on a bit, but it has upset me, and I think that the BHA have done the right thing, and I hope the Irish authorities follow suit. But that's not a true reflection on the people that I've met and seen, in the racing industry as a whole. It's a terrible incident, because he's the main trainer, up and coming trainer. He's the second best trainer in Ireland compared to Mullins. And the fact that O'Leary came out and said we all make mistakes, but there's making mistakes and there's doing that. I think once you tarnish an image such as Gordon Elliott's done, obviously got to be careful and sort of going too deep into it, because it's under investigation, and I ain't got deep pockets to pay for any lawyers for liable. But I think that O'Leary jumped the gun to defend his mate Gordon Elliott, but fair enough. But he's got egg on his face now, and then Tiger Roll's been pulled out of the national due to weight allowance. But I found it hard to believe he would be running in a national under an Elliott trained banner again. But yeah, what can you say? It's happened. It's widely condemned. I think that the good guys in the industry have really stepped up to really show their disgust. I think former jockeys, I think commentators, I think the wider audience as a whole. That's the positive in this for me, that no one has any excuses for him. No one has any time for that sort of crap. Stuff from the dark ages that I think gallows humour would be doing it the horse a disservice. I don't think that's funny in the slightest at all, personally. Elliott will pay for it, and rightly so, and I have zero sympathy for him, because he didn't have any sympathy for a horse that passed away on his gallop. So, you reap what you sow. But yeah, I don't want to dwell too long onto that. I think we'll cover that on Friday when we do the Cheltenham preview special. We've got a special guest, Mr. Miller, who you'll meet. He's a great guy, and I'm sure you'll all like him. And he knows horses better than me, if I'm being honest. He has a stake in the game, and he loves his horses, and he'll bring a lot of value to this the Cheltenham preview. So, from a somber note to a somber note on a different level, where do we start with England rugby? What a joke. We played against the referee, but discipline. We can't keep giving away penalties. Now, me and Harv have said it before, international rugby's dying, and that was not a good spectacle for international rugby. I think the first try given with the knock-on, Farrell getting told, rightly so, because we were giving away penalties. Now, you've got to play the ref in rugby, and the ref's the king. I always got taught to call the ref sir, and believe it or not, I would never say out to a ref, because it would end your game early, whereas football's a bit different. But Itoje giving away penalty after penalty. He's one of your senior pros now. You need him to step up. Lack of creativity, lack of grit, lack of belief, and obviously the penalty where Farrell gets told to go and talk to his team and kick. The ref's come out and said he's had a shocker, but it's not good enough, because England-Wales is a great spectacle, and I'm talking about the ref rather than how well Wales played, or a great try, or a great, it just ruins it. And I think rugby union needs to have a hard look at itself, not just from an international point of view, but I'm losing interest in rugby union fast, and I played the sport for years. It was one of the sport that I grew up playing. I'm a great believer in rugby union, because it gives you that structure, that camaraderie, teaches you discipline. You've got to work in a team. You've got to learn to play the refs. It's one of the best sports growing up as a kid to play, in my opinion. And you watch rugby for the tries. You watch rugby for the big hits. There was a tackle there made. I can't remember who made it, and they're looking upstairs, but it was a great hit. He's tried to wrap. He's hit him chest high and really give him some. And and then you've got the teams like Italy that are still in the Six Nations, and I don't think they add any value to the competition whatsoever. I don't think they've won a game for 4 years, and it's like, well, there comes a point where you've got to add another team in my opinion, to keep the competition as strong, because look what the Southern Hemisphere did. They added Argentina. Now Argentina obviously a completely different curve to Italy, but Italy's fading away quick. They're on a minus 101 points already. Point difference, and that's just not competitive, in my opinion. And I don't think it adds any value to the home nations or France. I think Wales and France have been playing good rugby. I think France are impressive. They've got a bit of trouble with COVID, but that's a given in today's sort of climate. I think it wouldn't be a tournament in these times unless there wasn't a COVID narrative, unfortunately. But lights at the end of the tunnels. The Euros are coming home, and the world's getting a better place. So that's the rugby. I just think that I couldn't leave that. I think that a lot of people are asking for sort of our take on it, but I think I don't think I'm giving any groundbreaking coverage other than what can you do? You've got to play what's in front of you, as in the ref. Yeah, we got done dirty, but I think it actually did England a favour in the long run, because it papered over a lot of cracks. But for me, international rugby is about who can score the most penalties, and I don't think that's good for the game moving forward, and especially for a World Cup. We're going to get absolutely trounced in the World Cup, and rightly so. I think Eddie Jones needs to. I love him. I think he's class. I wouldn't, it wouldn't be fair of me to say that I want him sacked, because I don't. But I think Simmons, where's his role in this team? Marcus Smith, where's his? If we're genuinely on the slide here, there is players out there that can improve us no end. You've got to come a point where you've just got to give these players a chance and freshen things up. Instead of sacking a manager, in football you get that new manager bounce. Well, a couple of new players around just to give him a lift. But Smith, playing at Harlequins, playing very well. But does Eddie Jones want to take a risk, or does he want to just keep grinding out and playing for the kicks and corners? And I do agree with kicking. Kicking's a big part of rugby. From the casual fan or rugby league fan, they just say, oh, they just kick and chase. But you have to kick to get possession, get territory. You can't just play in your own half. You can't just string amazing, Harlem Globetrotters tries all the time. You've got to have some sort of strategy. But I don't know. I'm just frustrated with the way England rugby's going. So that's the rugby. Cricket. Well, I don't even want to talk about the cricket. We all know what the downfall was there. We couldn't play the spin. I thought Axar was brilliant. England battered poorly. The pitch is shite, but you can't do anything about that. You're in India, and they're never going to investigate it because, one, it's in India, and two, it's not deemed dangerous. Is that what I want to see moving forward in Test cricket? No, because you've got 100,000 seat stadium and you've got 2 days playing it. I mean, that's not a good advert for Test cricket. It was exciting to watch, don't get me wrong. It was good and different, but I wouldn't want to see that again. I think Michael Vaughan, Bumble, they're all spot on with that. But England's downfall with the spin, we need to sort that out quick time. So move on to the footy. Bad week for Leeds. Well, bad result for Leeds. We'll start with the Man City West Ham. Man City roll on 2-1. Diaz and Stones got the goal. I think the big result on the Saturday was West Brom beating Brighton 1-0. Great result for Big Sam. But Brighton are so unlucky they missed 2 penalties. They had a VAR was centre stage there. They had a quick free kick. Dunk took it. Ref blew his whistle, similar to the Leeds incident against Southampton. Blew his whistle. Keeper wasn't ready. Goes in the net. He blows his whistle again. All hell breaks loose. He gives the goal. He don't give the goal. That's not football. That's just incompetence for a referee, from my opinion. and Brighton rightly feel hard done by, and I don't think there's a casual fan out there that'll disagree with that. But Big Sam's got a big point there. And then we move on to the 5 o'clocker, Leeds Villa. I think no Grealish was disappointing because we knew, we as in Leeds knew that Villa weren't going to come and play their usual game. They did a job on us. They got an early goal. El Ghazi, man of the match, rightly so, had a great game. They got an early goal and just parked the bus. I don't think it was a good advert for football from both teams, to be honest. I don't think Leeds ever got going. Pitch is an excuse because both got to play on it, but it does definitely affect the quality of the game. I think Villa did the right thing. They didn't have their playmaker there. They didn't have Bartley. They defended heroically. I thought Martinez made a couple of good saves. I think Leeds had maybe 1 or 2 chances a bit wasteful, but on the whole, I don't think you can ever say that Villa didn't deserve that, the way they defended and the way they spoilt the game and time waste, fair play. I have no complaints to that because it's worked for them in the Championship and it works for them now. I think if you look at the top 6 teams, they all manage the game very well. It's not sour grapes because, Leeds play attacking football and that works for us. Villa, do what they do and it works for them. And then we move on to Newcastle Wolves 1-1. I think that's a huge point for Newcastle. Need all 3, and I think they're in trouble now because Saint-Maximin and Almiron both injured for a length of time, and Fulham look like they've got it rolling. Scotty Parker's got them going. They're 3 points behind Newcastle. They play them last game of the season, which is a cup final. And Wolves just sort of obviously not the same team without Jimenez, which is awful because given the impact Jimenez had and the injury he had, is just horrendous, and you wouldn't wish that on any player, and especially Jimenez. He's the main sort of fulcrum of their team. That they need an outball to sort of play their style. They sit back and then move further up the pitch, but they're going to finish mid-table. They're not going to have Europe, but maybe that'll do them a favour. I think Neto, they've got some stars there. I think they buy well. I think they'll do it again, and they'll be right up there. And then we move on to Sunday. Palace, Fulham, absolute bore draw. 0-0, but clean sheet for Fulham again, which is vital if you're scrapping down there. There was a lot of chances. I did watch a bit of it, but I'm not going to go into it. I think the result of the weekend was Leicester 1, Arsenal 3. I think Arsenal played really well. And unfortunate injury to Harvey Barnes in the second half, but to go 1-0 down and then fight a comeback. David Luiz, Lacazette, and Pepe, and even Willian got an assist, which is sort of some feat to say. He's been very poor. And then you've got Spurs 4, Burnley 0. Bale masterclass. Really, really impressive from Spurs. I think Burnley were a bit flat, but I think Spurs just absolutely battered them. And they needed that win. If they're chasing top 4, they need to start winning soon. And then we go on to the Sunday snooze fest. I think one of my mates said, put your house on it being a 0-0, and it was a 0-0. VAR again, bit of trouble, but there's no point talking about it because it's boring. I think everyone covers it. A Hudson-Odoi handball. For me, I did think it was a handball. Should have been a penalty. But again, it was just a negative game, boring game. But Tuchel spoke really well after the game. I really like him. I know Haz is a big fan of him. And then the result of Sunday, the upset, Sheffield United 0, Liverpool 2. They're in trouble. I think gonna put my neck on the line and say Sheffield United are down now. Chris Wilder moaning about not having to compete with the transfer budgets of the likes of Liverpool, but they bought poorly for me. Ryan Brewster, 25 million. It's a lot of money to spend on an unproven striker. I think he will be good next season in the Championship, but they did spend a lot of money on they've had injuries, but everyone's had injuries this season. And then we move on to Monday. Everton 1, Southampton 0. The Toffees are now above Liverpool and chasing that top 4. Southampton are on a slide. I mean, they are in bad form. I didn't think they played too poorly, but they are in serious need of a result just to stop the momentum down. I think if you look at the points now, they're on 33 points, but they're 10 points off Fulham. But if Fulham keep winning and they keep losing, it could all change. But I think one more good result, and I think that'll be enough for them. And then we look to the fixtures further down the line. So we've got Man City Wolves tonight, and then Wednesday we've got Burnley, Leicester, Sheffield United, Villa, and Palace, Man U. And then we've got Fulham and West Brom and Chelsea, Liverpool on a Thursday night, which would be a good one. And then my game for the weekend that I'm looking forward to the most, it's the Manchester Derby, obviously, and another 0-0. Put your house on it, mate. Put your house on that being a 0-0 boring draw. I think that is going to be the 0-0 of the weekend, and then you've got Everton Chelsea on a Monday and the Mighty Whites West Ham, which is another tough game. So like I said, we're trying to get a podcast out every other week. It's just difficult for work commitments. Now everything's opening back up. Our Harv is a busy man, so am I. But thought I'd address the nation with my thoughts on all things sport this weekend. Appreciate the views, appreciate the comments, appreciate the follows. Like, subscribe. If you want me to do any other features, get some guests on, and keep your eyes peeled for that Cheltenham preview. I think there's some money to be made at Cheltenham, especially with the turmoil the racing world's in. And thanks for listening, and don't forget to check out hgcbd.co.uk, code NOSPLINTERS for 10% off all your CBD needs. All the best, God bless.